All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy spring, even though the weather is pretending that we're back to winter 3.0. Happy spring. My thought for you today, this week, has been on, I've been saying it as don't become complacent, but it also occurs to me that it's lovely to put things into the positive language, right? So instead of not become complacent, is remember to stay curious, right? Because this is the Buddhist way of putting it, is that what happens to us frequently, and by frequently, I mean really all the time, is that our mind seeks out kind of the energy of settling, right? Settling into habits, settling into routine, settling into expectations so that we're not always in that state of ongoing unknowingness, right? That's what our mind kind of hides from. And so our habits, whether we categorize them as good habits, right? They feel like they're positive or uplifting or healthy, or not so good habits, right? Almost doesn't matter, because the mind is doing the same thing in both of them, right? It's trying to escape that feeling of not knowing, or it's trying to escape that feeling of having to be awake to the possibility of more than what it has already categorized, right? What it's already defined. So this feeling of not becoming complacent, I've been saying, is that don't fall into that part of your mind that says, I want my habits and I want nothing else, right? I want things to be the way that I know that they're going to be, and I don't want to see anything beyond that. I don't want to feel anything beyond that. I would like my stress to be repetitive and to be completely what I know and completely what I feel that I'm in control of, right? I'd like my suffering to be very controlled. So going to that place of being curious again is that it's dissolving those places in the mind that want that, right? Or that are clinging to that. And by dissolving that, as we start to experience things in a state that is bigger, that requires no effort from us to define, right? It requires no effort from us to create. We just get to feel that there's more, right? And sometimes that feeling that there's more can be scary because we're suddenly aware of things we were not aware of before. But the practice is to continue to not cling, right? To internally not keep clinging to, I know this in this way, and therefore I want to hold on to it so that it never changes, right? So we start to become comfortable in not knowing. We start to become at least able to find our way in a state of not knowing, right? So do not become complacent. Take a look at your habits, the places where your mind wants things to just continue to be the same way that it was, or the way that you're used to it being. Look at that and actually see where you can release that feeling of cling, or where you can dissolve just a little bit into the state that says there's more there. Can I look again? Can I look again with eyes that are curious to see what is there beyond what I'm used to seeing, right? So with the eyes closed for a moment, let yourself settle into your seat. Settle into the breath. And the breath being this beautiful representation of everything that we take for granted. That is really the primal and most fundamental experience that there is your breath. So as you're breathing, watch the inhale as it becomes the exhale. And watch the exhale as it becomes the inhale, and just let yourself fall into that feeling of not having to make the breath happen, but allowing the breath to flow through you. Because we think, and again, thinking is our biggest challenge as human beings, is that we think that there are techniques that are supposed to dissolve our mind. But it's not techniques that do that, it's experience. The techniques bring us to experience, and experience allows us to relax into ourselves. Experience allows us to be able to sit with fear. Experience allows us to be able to soften those edges that cling to routine because we are so nervous about what might happen, what we might discover if we let that curiosity go too deep. But it's in that dissolving that we start to come into that state of real equanimity, real feeling of being supported by energies that are broader than us, bigger than us, outside of us, but that are really inside of you. So we practice for the experience. My breath is happening. My mind can sense it, and I can either limit it to the mechanical experience of my body feeling breath, or I can let my mind be curious about what happens when I keep letting go into that flow. So feel your shoulders drop. And feel your posture get less good. Let your seat get heavy. Let your jaw release, your tongue, your eyes, your forehead. Feel your brain relax. We could be in this state where there was nothing but breath. We would understand the nature of everything. So we keep dissolving. Little by little, we dissolve. And one more full breath. As you're exhaling, keep exhaling, keep exhaling, keep exhaling, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep exhaling. Pause at the bottom of the exhale, no breath, empty. And then release that restriction and feel the breath flood back in. That's the experience right there of letting go. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. We'll open with the sound of Om. Take a nice deep breath in again. Let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please. Then go ahead and come forward onto hands and knees. Knees underneath the hips, hands underneath the shoulders. Begin to circle the hips. You move the pelvis, move the shoulders. To wake up the whole body. Nice. Our minds have the amazing capacity to just sort of block out whatever it can't really comprehend at any moment. And so we do this in and out type of thing where, you know, we're really focused on certain aspects of our lives. We kind of forget about everything else. And then one day we look out the door, we look out the window, or we see something, we hear something, and we're like, oh, there's a whole rest of the world out there. Darn, it's still there. Move your hips the other direction, please. So even though we don't think that it is so, it's actually more painful ongoing to be in that state of retracting and then having to forcefully pay attention and then having to hide again and then coming out and back in. That kind of thing that our mind does, the hide and seek, the whack-a-mole type of thing. It's actually more painful to do that than it is to consistently stay open and curious. But because we don't know the experience of that, we assume that that has to be so much harder. So we continue to do what we do, right? Mind looks for its habits, looks for its routines, clings. All we're practicing is trying to find that experience of not being in a state of clinging. Come back to stillness, please. Just stretch the right leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor, and then step that foot over to the bottom left-hand corner of your mat. Look over your left shoulder towards that heel. Good, don't let the right hip drop lower than the left, so lift it up, which means you got to press into your hands a little bit more, and then feel yourself almost pressing down through the knuckles, but then suctioning up through your palms. Good, so there's a feeling of pushing down through the hands, but drawing the energy up the arms into the shoulder socket. Good, nice there. One more breath, press out through that heel. Beautiful. And then take that leg back to center, please. Lift it up in line with your hips, so just float it up straight in line. Good. And then walk your left arm forward towards straight. Stay on the fingertips for a moment. So fingertips down, because again, this is working rotation on your shoulder. So the fingertips down to the floor. Good. That means the head of the arm bone rolls in slightly, right? So lift that outer armpit a little higher, even though your fingers are still on the floor. Pull your rib cage up and in. Nice. Now again, feel that suctioning, like you're drawing the arm bone up into the shoulder socket. So there's almost no weight on those fingers, but you're still pushing down. Beautiful. And now float that arm up, but slightly wide. Yep. So lift it up, palm still facing down. Yep. Good. And then bend the elbow wide, like you're bringing it into cactus arm. So you're pulling the elbow towards your side ribs, but don't let the elbow go higher than your wrist. So drop your elbow, lift your wrist. Drop your elbow, lift your wrist. Yeah. And then feel that squeeze of the lower armpit. Beautiful. Now extend that arm back forward again, palm facing down. Draw the low belly in and up. Lift the back of your throat. Beautiful. And then release that hand down to the floor. Drop the right foot to the floor. Leg is still straight. Take your heel flat and then stretch that right arm up to the sky. Good. Nice, you guys. Take that arm over the ear, please, reaching towards the top of your mat. Beautiful. And then bend the elbow, taking the hand behind your head for a moment. Draw your rib cage back, dropping the chin in towards your chest, and then press the head straight back into your hand as you let your inner elbow come forward. So hollow your inner armpit. So your elbow comes forward as you press your head back. Good. And now slide that hand down the back of your neck like it's going to reach to the back of your heart, pointing the tip of your elbow towards the top of your mat. And then same thing, let that elbow come slightly forward, but press the back of your throat back, and then draw your ribs in and rotate that right rib cage to the sky. Pull that hand down to the middle of your heart. Yeah, stretch the upper arm. Good. And now go ahead and extend the arm back towards straight. Beautiful. Release that hand down to the floor. Spin your back heel up. Good. Both knees, hands and knees, cat, cow. Shoulders. Really, and the thing with shoulders though is, again, is we think that there's just an easy way that you're supposed to like be able to press a button and your shoulders are just good. There's a very complicated network of like interlocking, you know, musculature and connective tissue around your shoulders, because your shoulders are super movable, right? So working with the shoulders means we have to keep changing the angles of how those bones and that connective tissue are working with each other to relieve where the stuckness is. So it's never so simple of just, I can just poke around and it's going to let go. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Hands and knees. Take your left leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor. Step the foot over to the bottom right-hand corner of your mat. Look over your right shoulder. Good. And again, how you're engaging into your hands here matters. So if you're just dumping your weight, dropping your weight into your hands, you're actually creating stress in your shoulders, right? You're just dropping into the joint. So press down through the knuckles, suction up through the palms of your hands. You feel that little squeeze, right? They say clawing the floor, right? So squeeze, and then pull those arm bones up and in. So you can still lift your chest. So you're not rounding your back, but you're pulling the arm bones up. And as you lift your chest, that's going to make space in that front of the shoulder joint. Good. Looking over the shoulder towards that heel, press out through the heel. One more breath, because I'm talking a lot. And then take that foot back in line with your hip. Beautiful. Don't collapse into your arms. Lift that left thigh up parallel to the floor. So same leg lifts up. And then walk your right arm forward in front of you. Stay on your fingertips. So again, I'm making sure that you're balancing your weight on what's actually holding you, which is your right shin and your left hand. So make sure that that is engaged, and then draw up through that right arm bone again, lifting the chest a little higher, but suction. Good. And then as you start to lift that right hand, keep your palm facing down. Again, you might have to widen the arm slightly to the right, but lift it up, palm facing down. Good. And then start to bend the elbow, drawing the elbow towards your side ribs. Don't let your elbow come higher than your wrist. So drop your elbow down, lift your wrist higher. So your forearm is parallel to the floor. Good. So Rachel, elbow down, wrist up. Yeah, the rotation is tricky. Good. Squeeze the lower elbow. Nice, Heidi. And then extend that arm forward again, palm still facing down. Yeah, you got it. And then release that right hand down to the floor. Drop the left toes to the floor. Keep the legs straight, and then drop that heel. So your heel comes flat to the floor, left arm to the sky. So your legs are like in a modified sort of warrior two, left arm up. You got it. Good, you guys. Stretch the left arm over the ear, please. Nice. You got it. Press through the baby toe of that back foot so you don't lose that connection to the legs. And then bend your left elbow, place the hand behind the head. So the elbow points straight up here. Hand is just behind the head. Drop your chin towards your chest. Good. Let your elbow fall forward as you press your head back without tilting the chin up. Good. Nice, you guys. So you're hollowing the front of the armpit. That's it. Now start to slide that left hand down the back of your neck towards the back of your heart. So the elbow tip points towards the top of your mat. Good. And then again, there's that slight drawing in of the elbow. So you're not just pulling back from the top of the arm, but you let the elbow soften and then rotate your rib cage open more. And now really slide that hand down behind the heart, pressing out through that outer edge of your upper arm. So really lengthen the elbow from the armpit. Yeah, the angle is what matters here. Nice, Lena. Good, Jen. Good, you guys. Slowly unwind, extend that arm back to straight, and then release the hand down to the floor. Good. Come back to hands and knees, please. Beautiful. Do a little cat and cow. Good. Yeah, it's tricky to decompress the shoulders because the shoulders are locked in with our upper back, locked in with our neck. And the habits of how we hold stress become very apparent, right? We would love to be able to release the shoulders, but in order to do that, we have to stop holding tension in that same area. So we can do a great class on shoulders, and then 5 minutes later, you leave class and something happens and you stress out and the shoulder stress is back, right? Which is why it's important that we watch our habits, even to that degree. Where am I tensing all the time? Come back to stillness, please. Good. Widen your knees, take your big toes together to touch, drop your hips back to your heels, come back child's pose. Good. With the arms overhead, separate your hands wider. Yeah. And then up on your fingertips, please. So you're pressing down into your fingertips, lift your inner elbows, lift the upper arms. Yep. Nice, nice, nice. Scoop into your low belly, draw your hips back. And again, really lift those inner elbows up. Yep, yep, yep. Nice, Mark. One more breath, you guys. Draw the hips back, press into your fingertips and isometrically drag back through your fingers. So it's like you're pulling your arm bones in, but your hands are not moving. Good. And then walk yourself back up onto hands and knees. Nice. Notice how wide your hands were in child's pose. So keep them that wide, move them a little wider off on your mat. Good. Maybe a little too wide there, Emily. And then come into downward facing dog with wider arms. Yeah. In your down dog, you can bend your knees if having your legs straight here feels like it's a lot of pressure on your wrist. Bend your knees so that you can move your weight back just a little bit. And then bend your elbows wide in your down dog. Yeah, as your elbows bend wide, don't drop your chin, keep the back of your throat lifted. Good, pull your rib cage in, and now just squeeze the upper arms towards each other. So rotate your elbows so that they point back, but they're still bent. Just squeeze. Yeah, elbows bent, but squeezing together. Nice. Now start to straighten the arms as you press into your hands. Keep your chest lifting forward and up. Don't let everything fall back. Pull those arm bones up and in. Good, and then bend the elbows wide again. Yeah, as the elbows bend wide, again, you're working that rotation. Armpits go up, lift the back of your throat. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. And then elbows still bent, just rotate so the elbows point towards the back of your mat. Press down through the thumb and first finger of each hand. Squeeze in like you got a rubber band. And then start to straighten the arms, pressing through the knuckles and drawing your armpits, your hips back in space. That's it. One more time, bend your elbows wide. Good. Lift the back of your throat, pull your ribs in, and then squeeze the elbows so they point towards the back of your mat. Set your hands, thumb and first finger, roll in, pull your weight to the inside of the hands, and then start to straighten the arms, pushing through the knuckles, but pulling the arm bones up into the chest. Yeah, excellent, you guys. Walk your feet forward to the top of your mat. Good. Pause for a moment. Let your knees bend. Hold opposite elbows if you'd like. Sway from side to side. You can also just let the hands dangle here if that feels better. Let your head go. Nice. And then slowly roll up the spine one vertebra at a time. You can let the hands hang here if you're still holding opposite elbows. Nice, you guys. Grab a block if you have a block. Place that block to the outside of your right foot, please, alongside the baby toe edge of your right foot. You can take it flat setting. Good. And then you're going to bring your left knee up in towards your chest. Good. Squeeze it in. And then cross that left thigh over top of the right, coming into eagle pose, Garudasana. So the inner thighs are wrapping, the outer shins are touching. Your left foot is going to touch down onto that block. I want it to. Good. So now you can focus on that hug of the inner thighs, bend your right knee a lot and let your butt go back. Block is there so you're not going to fall, but pull your thigh creases back. And then stretch your arms out wide. Right arm crosses on top of left. And when the elbows are in line, press the forearms against each other. And just for a moment, don't turn the palms towards each other. Just have the backs of the hands pressing. Good. And for some of you, that's where you always are. So you're like, no different. But don't do the extra twist, right? Just press the backs of the hands or the backs of the forearms against each other and focus on drawing your ribs in and now drawing your armpits back in space as though there's a wall behind you. Good. Bend that right knee a lot. Drop your hips and scoop your low belly. Beautiful. Really good, you guys. And then slowly release and unwind. Stretch the arms up. Excellent. And then release that foot, please. Good. And then switch to the other side. So move your block to the outside of your left foot now. Baby toe edge. Good. And then bringing the right knee up and towards your chest as you're ready. Squeeze it in. You got it. And then cross the right thigh over top of the left. Again, inner thighs wrapping. Good. Bend your left knee. Your left foot is going, sorry, your right foot is going to touch down onto that block. Good. But keep that feeling of still hugging the shin. So don't drop your weight into that foot any more than you have to. Keep squeezing towards that middle spiral. Good. Arms out wide. Left arm crosses on top of right. When the elbows are on top of each other, press the forearms against each other. And again, don't turn the palms. Just keep the forearms pressing against each other as they naturally are. Because again, the more you twist through the arms, that's creating a different sensation on the shoulders. So we're looking for making more space in the shoulders. So don't add extra twist, right? Good. So keep pressing the forearms out wide against each other and pull your armpits back. Like you're trying to get your shoulders on top of your hips, get more vertical, press through the top of your head, drop your hips. Nice, Virginia. You got it, Mia. Beautiful, Lori. Again, you guys, the energy of the arms is pressing wide. Yeah. Nice, Allison. And your mind is getting steadier and your jaw is relaxing. Yes, nice, Beth. Good, and slowly release. Come on out. Ay. I know, feet to the floor underneath you. Inhale, both arms up to the sky. Good, take hold of your right wrist with your left hand and then pull to your left. Nice, you guys. Good. Again, noticing here the direction that your palm is facing. Is your palm facing forward? Is your palm facing down towards the floor? Is your palm facing up towards the sky? Good. Come on back up to center, please. Switch your hands. So take hold of the left wrist, lean to your right. Again, noticing which way your wrist likes to face or tends to face here. Good. And then come back up to center. Good. Cross your right ankle over your left ankle. So just cross your right foot in front of your left. Yep. So you're standing with your right ankle in front of your left. You got it. And then take the arms back up towards the sky. Good. And then your left hand is holding your right wrist again. Yep. Do something different with your hand. Either point that palm to face up if it's usually down, point it down if it's usually up, and lean again to your left. Good. Doing something different, noticing how it creates a different stretch on the arm. It's changing that rotation, changing the way that the connective tissue and the muscles are used to being tight or released. Come back up to center, release the hands, don't change the legs. Exhale, bow forward, take your hands down to the floor or blocks with the right ankle crossed in front of the left. Good, because all this talk about shoulders, I have to remember that you have legs too. Got to do something with the legs. Nice. Press into the big toe mound, baby toe mound of both feet. Bend your knees just a little bit so your shins move forward. And then scoop into your belly, press your butt straight up towards the sky to try and straighten the legs. Don't push your knees back. Just get into that feeling of really drawing up through the backs of the legs. Good. And hollowing through the lowest part of your belly. That's going to help decompress the sacrum, lower back. Nice, you guys. Good. And then unwind your feet, please. Nice job. Plant that right hand and take your feet a little wider, so as wide as your hips. And then right hand plants where it is. Left arm comes to the sky. You can absolutely keep that block underneath you if you'd like. Right hand down, left arm up. Good. Draw the thumb of that hand towards the top of your head more. So make more space at your lower armpit. So draw the arm up towards the top of your head, towards the top of your mat. And then again, feel as though you are pushing that left hand forward into something heavy and draw your left rib cage back. Yeah, so the hand comes forward, but your shoulder moves back. Yeah, and you're like, I have no idea what that means. Throat moves back. Good. And then release that hand down to the floor. Try the other side. Left hand plants, right arm to the sky. What I'm trying to get you to feel a little bit is not pulling from your hand to try and open the shoulder, but to actually use your rib cage to open up the back, which is really what you're trying to do when we say open your shoulder. So move that thumb forward, like literally taking the top, your hand towards the top of your mat. Good. More space at the lower armpit. That's it. And now push forward through that right hand as though there's a big high five you're trying to do with someone in front of you, but then move your shoulder back. Yeah. So the hand moves forward, but your shoulder rotates up towards the ceiling. Yeah, it's tricky. Do your best. Good. And then release that hand down to the floor. Whatever you did or didn't do was perfect. Take your hands to your hips, come all the way up to stand. I know. I think after this will flow a little bit. Don't worry. Good. Left foot steps in front of right, please. So you're crossing the left foot in front of the right ankle. That should be the second side. Take the arms up alongside your ears. Good. And now you're reaching your right hand for your left wrist and do something different with that hand. So again, however it usually goes, turn it a different way, either forward, up, down, whatever, and then lean to your right side stretch. Good. You got to keep widening here through your shins. So again, this is sort of the trick. It's like a standing Garudasana. So you feel your inner thighs hug together, but there's a widening. Because if you don't widen here and use that energy of your outer hips, you've got no balance, right? Good. Come back up to center, please. Release the hands. Don't change the feet. Bow forward. Take the hands to the floor or blocks. Noticing as you do, if that left hip wants to spin forward, because it does, because your legs are crossed. So try to draw that outer left hip, outer left side of your pelvis a little wider to the left so it stays in line with the right. Good. And then again, bending your knees just a little bit, let your shins move forward, scoop into your belly, and then again, lifting up through your tail, through your sacrum, pull up through the backs of the legs to let the legs come any amount straight. Good. Nice, you guys. And dropping the head as you do that, because tensing in your shoulders is not going to make this easier or better. It actually restricts your ability to stretch the lower back. So relax the upper body. Good. Nice, you guys. And then unwind the legs, please. Good. Feet as wide as your mat. So take your feet as wide as your mat, toes facing forward. Take your right hand to your outer left ankle. Yep. Left arm to the sky or hand to your lower back. Good. If your hand is on your lower back, try and press the palm down instead of the back of the hand, and then press your sacrum up into your hand. And again, let the elbow fall forward towards the front of your chest. So it's going to feel like your shoulder is collapsing in, but let the elbow move in and then lift your rib cage open more. So elbow goes forward, shoulder goes back. That's it. And then your throat goes back as well. You got it. Nice. And then release, please. Switch the hands, left hand to outer right ankle. Right arm either comes to the sky or hand to your lower back. And again, if your arm is up, great. Bring the thumb towards the top of your head. So again, open that lower armpit. And then again, feel as though you're pushing that hand into something heavy and draw the top of your arm back. Good. Nice, you guys. And then release that hand down to the floor. Beautiful. Step yourself back to downward facing dog. Nice job. Coming forward to plank pose, upward push up, drop your knees down to the floor, keep your butt lifted. Shift your weight forward towards the tips of your fingers and then drop your chest to the floor between your thumbs, lift your chin. So knees, chest, and chin. So your butt is up in the air. Good. And your chest is dropping to the floor between your hands and your chin is on the floor. So you actually have to work this area of your middle back. Press into your hands, don't collapse. Good. Lift your inner arm bones or your inner front of your shoulders up away from the floor. And then squeeze those upper arms towards each other. Feel the squeeze. And now at the same time that you're squeezing, push wide. There's your shoulders. And then slide all the way forward onto your belly, please. Point the toes back behind you. Take your hands a little wider off of your mat. Come up on your fingertips. Lift those inner elbows a little higher again. And then rise up into cobra, wide-armed cobra. Yeah, so up on your fingertips. Again, you have to have that lift of the lower edge of your armpits, but then also pull up through the front of your chest and drop your chin slightly and pull back through the backs of your ears. Yes, there it is. Nice, Teresa. You got it, Lena. Beautiful, Noreen. Nice, Emily. Good, Mark. Great, Ralph. And then slowly release, please. Press back to hands and knees, please. Take a child's pose for a breath. Let your knees go wide, big toes together to touch. Remembering to let your hands stay a little wider, especially if the shoulders are a little cranky. And if your neck is cranky, it means your shoulders are cranky. And then come back up onto hands and knees and come back to downward facing dog. Yeah, sometimes when I say a breath, I really mean just a breath. Good, downward facing dog. Good, take your right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Awesome. And then step that foot forward between your hands, lunge. Good, drop the back heel, baby toe parallels back of your mat. Take the arms up to warrior two. Turn your palms to face up towards the ceiling. Good, take the tips of your fingers to the tops of your shoulders. Start to circle the elbows, circle the arms. Good. And then come back to stillness, elbows straight out, and then just flap the arms up and down. So your fingers are still at the tops of your shoulders, but lift the elbows up and down, big movements. So I said flap, but don't make it silly flaps. Make it like full motions. Good, up and down. You got it. Awesome. And then come back to stillness again. Stretch your arms out wide, warrior two, with your thumbs facing up and your palms forward. Good. So you're squeezing the arms towards each other just a little bit. Squeeze in. So again, your hands move in, not behind your shoulder, but slightly in front of. Good. Keep that squeeze and then turn your palms to face down and stretch out through your fingers. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then right forearm onto front thigh, left arm over the ear, side angle. You got it. Right knee over the right ankle. So go into the lunge. That's it. Excellent. And then drop your right hand down to the floor or a block here, or just press the forearm up against your inside of your shin, straighten your leg for triangle pose. Good. So just a straight transition into Trikonasana. Beautiful. Left arm comes straight up towards the, in line with the shoulder, straight up to the sky. And again, that feeling of trying to squeeze the hands towards each other. So your lifted hand comes inside that edge of your shoulder and then draw your rib cage back. You got it. One more breath. Good. Bend the right knee, please. Take your left hand to your left hip. Slide that right hand forward in front of you beyond the toes of your front foot. And then step up into Ardha Chandrasana, engaging the low belly. So as you shift your weight forward over that heel, right, you're solidly centered as you lift the left thigh up. Good. Flex the left foot a lot. Beautiful. Nice, you guys. And then lift the left arm to the sky if you'd like, or again, maybe keeping the hand at your hip makes sense today. Good. Pull up through that left wrist. You got it. Excellent. Optional, bend the left knee, kick your heel and reach back for the foot or the ankle if you'd like, or stay where you are. Good. If you have hold of that ankle, you've still really got to lift and open your ribs and draw that arm bone up and in so you're not pulling the arm out of the socket. Good. Release the foot, extend back out, come back to warrior two. So dropping that left heel, stretch the arms out. Yeah, nice and graceful. Beautiful, you guys. Drop the left hand down the back thigh, right palm spins up and back, reverse warrior. Good. Draw down through your lower armpit here. So draw the shoulder away from the ear, Lean a little bit more through that right side ribs, then bend the right elbow, take the hand back behind your heart and take your left hand up to the tip of the elbow. So again, you give a little bit of extra stretch to that outer arm. Nice, so you got it. Beautiful, Kristen. Lift your right hip point up a little higher. Let your lunge go a little deeper as you lean back. Yes. And then come all the way back up to center. Breathe in case you forgot. And then exhale, release hands down to the floor inside the front foot. Walk to your left until you come to the center of your mat. Turn your right toes. Prasarita Padottanasana. You got it. So just facing the long edge of your mat, toes parallel to the short edges. Beautiful. Deep breath in. Feel your feet. Exhale long. Good. And then any amount here, start to walk your hands back towards your feet. Yep. And then you can even turn the palms so your fingers face the other direction as you continue to walk your hands back behind your heels as much as you can. So you're getting deeper into that forward fold, turning the palms back again, working with shoulder stuff, changing the rotation. Keep your hands as wide as they need to be. Good. Really nice, you guys. Scoop into your low belly, press your butt up towards the sky. Like you're just going to do a beautiful forward roll here. Good. And then slowly release, walking the hands back forward. Walk back towards the top of your mat. Turn the right toes. Spin your back heel up. You got it. And then take your right leg up and back to down dog split. Good. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt. Stack the right hip on top of the left. Open, open, open. Good. And then stretching that leg all the way back to straight. Scoop into your low belly, turn those toes down towards the floor, and then start to walk your hands backwards towards your left foot until you come into a standing split. If you have a wall behind you, keep walking that foot up the wall. Good. Letting that left heel move towards the floor any amount. Again, if you've got a wall behind you, that might not be possible. Don't worry about it. If you don't have a wall, keep walking back until you are solidly in a standing split. If you have a foot on the wall, push your foot into the wall, but press your thigh higher. Don't get a bent knee, get a straighter leg. And a straighter leg means you got to lift your butt higher, like you're going to take your tailbone up to that lifted heel. Yeah, changing the angle of the pelvis. Really nice, Judy. Good. And then walk your hands back forward, please. Back to down dog split. Release that foot down to the floor. Good. Vinyasa if you'd like, child's pose if you prefer. Anyone doing the vinyasa? You're doing the vinyasa, come forward to plank, lower down to your belly, rising up cobra. Excellent. And then exhaling, downward facing dog. If you're in child's pose, find your way back to down dog. 10 times points for everyone who did a vinyasa.
Oh,
Yeah, big bonus today. Downward facing dog when you're ready. Good. Nice, you guys. Left leg comes up and back behind you, down dog split. Don't let your mind start to think about what's happening next. Just go with it. Step your left foot forward between your hands. Drop the back heel, baby toe parallels back of your mat. Warrior two, please. Stretch the arms up. The great thing is that there's a beginning to this class and there's an end to this class. So you will survive this, I promise. Good. Turn your palms to face up towards the ceiling. Take the tips of your fingers to the tops of your shoulders and start to circle the elbows. Again, working out where there is that excessive tension, call it adhesions, right? Where the muscles actually are so caught up, or they're so like barnacles is the way I think of it, right? You're encouraging the barnacles in your back to dissolve. Nice, you guys. Come back to stillness, please. Still with the hands at the tops of the shoulders, lift up and down. Again, that flapping action. Good. And again, it's range of motion, right? We use our shoulders in very limited ways and usually in very tense ways, right? We use them to pick things up. We use them to hold things. We use them to lean on. We don't often ask them to do anything very functional. So we wonder how they get stuck. Good. Nice. And then come back to stillness. Stretch your arms out wide. Turn the thumbs up, palms facing forward. Do that little squeeze. So again, you bring your hands forward of the edge of your shoulders. Yeah. And then start to turn the palms down and stretch out like you're going to touch the wall behind you and whatever the space in front of you is. I assume another wall or something is there. So reach, 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 reach. You should feel that in your arms. Yeah, nice. Then left forearm onto front thigh, right arm over the ear, come into side angle. And again, traditionally here we say to turn that right palm down towards the floor, the arm that's up in the air. So see how that rotation feels, to turn it down. Good. And then widen, feel as though your upper arm is pulling up away from your ear as that palm turns down and pushes down. Yeah. And then drop the left hand down towards the floor or a block, straighten your left leg into Trikonasana and let that right arm just move so that it is straight from the shoulder, reaching straight up towards the ceiling. Again, hand slightly forward of the edge of your shoulder, rib cage moves back. So it should feel like all of the opening in the pose happens from your rib cage, not from your hand. Your hand doesn't have to move for your back to open. Throat back, Beth. Nice, Dina. Good, Debbie. Nice, Anne. Really good, you guys. Beautiful. And then bend that left knee. Please take your right hand to your right hip. Slide that left hand forward beyond the toes of the front foot. Step up to Ardha Chandrasana. Again, continuing to pay attention to how you are setting your weight over that heel and then taking that right inner thigh up. Good. So your movements are not haphazard. This is part of that staying awake and staying curious, is that what we do is no longer haphazard because it's not routine. Right arm can come to the sky here if you'd like, or stay where you are with the hand at the hip. Nice, Andy, you got it. Nice, Sue. Good. And then optional, bend the right knee, kick your heel and reach back for the foot or the ankle if you'd like. And again, if you are holding that foot, you got to keep reaching that right rib cage up, 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 rotating. Really good, Jen. Nice. Right there, Allison. Good. Extend all the way back out and then gracefully step back to warrior two. So don't just fall out of your pose. Know that you're going somewhere, right? The inhale becomes the exhale. You're not falling through space. Good. Drop the right hand down the back thigh, left palm spins up and back, reverse warrior. And again, here, traditionally, we say the palm is really facing back. We're working the rotation of that arm. So really turn it so that your palm is almost like you could bring it down to the top of your head. So Noreen, just turn your hand the other way. That's it. Good. And then bend that left elbow, hand comes back behind your heart. Take that right hand up to hold the tip of your elbow. So again, stretching through that upper arm. Lift your left hip point higher towards the top of your mat. So you're engaging, lifting the pelvis a little bit more. And then lean further back. Yes. Nice, Emily. Really good, you guys. These simple things should feel like they're very meaningful. And then come all the way back, arms wide. Good. Release the hands down to the floor inside the front foot. Walk to your right. Come to the center of your mat. Turn the toes. Prasarita Padottanasana. Good. Pause here. Maybe holding opposite elbows again. Letting yourself hang. Letting yourself sway. And the habits in your mind as you get closer towards the end of class, is your brain already calculating how many more standing poses there might be? Are you thinking about, is she going to say an inversion? Are we almost to where we get to sit down? Is it Shavasana yet? I'm hungry. Watch the habits of your mind, because this is what it does. And it loves the routine of that, right? Even in your practice, it's not thinking about what you're doing. It's thinking about what's coming next. Or if it is thinking about what you're doing, it's having this long conversation about how to get out of it. Release your hands down to the floor, please. Walk back towards the top of your mat. Left toes turn forward, spin your right heel up. And then planting the hands, take your left leg up and back behind you, down dog split. Good. Bend that knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack the left hip on top of the right. So again, lift and open. So you're not just dropping that left hip on top of the right, is you are pulling your right side, that supporting side, pull your waist up off of that thigh bone. Press your left outer hip up to the sky and then bring that left knee up higher, inner knee. That's it. This is a hip opener, a hip strengthener. Yes, point your left knee down towards the floor. Extend that leg to straight. I think I did it the other way last time, doesn't matter. Walk your hands back towards that right foot until you come into either standing split, or you keep walking that foot up a wall or whatever is behind you so that you have that something to push into. As you push your foot into the wall, don't let your knee bend. Keep working that feeling of extending the leg straight And then pointing your tailbone straight up towards that heel. So you got to work that angle of the pelvis again. Don't collapse into your feet here. Keep pulling the hips up, 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 up. Yes. Nice, Ralph. You got it, Jen. Good, Rachel. Nice, Mark. Love it. Beautiful, Beth. Good. And then walk your hands back forward, please. Release that left foot down to the floor. Drop to your hands and knees. Do a little cat and cow if you need, or just go into child's pose. Go to your safe place. Yeah. The mind open and curious means, again, there's so much more that we can do, so much more that we can see. And when we're willing, when we trust, right? You guys just did a whole bunch of things that if you were at home doing your own practice, you wouldn't have done any of those things. You certainly wouldn't have put, you certainly wouldn't have put them in that order. But the thing is when we trust, right? And it's so bizarre that you show up and you trust me to take you through nonsense like that. But I assume that you do because you keep coming back. So when we trust, we do things that we would never do if it was just our own mind saying, what should I do today? Right? So that level of trust that we can just keep going with what's in front of us, that there's a curiosity. Can I do that? How much can I, how far can I go? What is really inside of me? What's really outside of me that I've been ignoring? The more we do that, the greater our experience becomes. Just contemplate that, right? The things that you do in a yoga class because you trust. Can you carry that trust into the world with you so that you'll do magnificent things there too that are outside of your habits? Stay curious. Don't become complacent. Don't let your mind settle into the area that says, well, I know what's coming next. And that's what I like. Is to know what's coming next. Walk yourself back up, please. Good. Find your way onto your belly, whatever graceful way you want to do that. And then come on up onto your forearms in Sphinx pose. Good. Yeah. So you're actually going to turn, turn your left forearm in so it parallels the top of your mat. And then you're going to take your right forearm and turn it parallel to the top of your mat in front of your left one. So your right one should be the closest to the top of your mat. And then you're going to walk your hands away from each other until your elbows are closer to in line with each other. So it's sort of like a laying down weird version of Garudasana, right? Good. So keep walking the hands out. Good. Your arms, your elbows should be still pretty much under your chest, pretty close. You don't want them super far out in front of you. Pretty close to under your chest. Walk the hands out and then just drop the chin. So let the head rest here wherever it can. If you want a block for underneath your head, you can certainly use a block. Lena, that's perfect variation. That's good. Good. Yeah. And again, there's a moment here where even though this is a likely not terribly comfortable position, not only because it stretches a lot through the shoulders and the upper back, but it can feel claustrophobic. So again, make sure you can breathe. There's a moment here where in this type of position is you can practice that feeling of letting go and you can remember it, right? The experience of it when I held my breath and then consciously let go of that holding and let the breath come in. Do that. Do that again. And if it means that you have to tell yourself, okay, hold your breath here so that you can feel that you're holding, hold your breath for a moment. And then as you release that, let the inhale come in deeper. And it doesn't matter what position that you're in, you can do this in every position until it becomes really, really clear to our mind what it feels like to let go. We keep giving it the technique of feeling. Here I am holding, and now I let go. The techniques are not going to do it for you. The experience is what carries us. Yeah, and if this position becomes really too intense for the shoulders, hanging out in Sphinx pose with the forearms down and parallel is great. Even if you need a break, just letting the forehead rest on the hands with the elbows wide. Perfect. Here, and just one more breath on this side. Good. And then slowly unwind. So walk yourself all the way back up. Good. Let your forehead come to the floor, please. Stretch the arms back behind you, reaching towards your feet. Palms facing down and hands nice and wide. Don't reach for your feet, just reaching back to the back of your mat. Palms facing down, separate the hands wider. Good. And then pressing through the front of your pelvic bones, rise up into locust. So lifting the legs up, lifting the upper body, floating the arms up. Good. Take your hands wider away from you and pull your shoulders up towards your ears. Yep. And now press down through your hands and feel your chest lift up to take that feeling of congestion out of the shoulders. Yeah, it works, right? Don't have to pull your arms back. Good. And then release back down to your belly. Really nice Heidi Diflori. And then come up into Sphinx pose again. This time the right forearm turns first, closest to your body. Left forearm turns in front. Walk your fingers away from each other, elbows in line. When you've gone as far as you're going to go, drop your chin towards your chest, let your head rest. And again, if this movement of the arms or position of the arms is not sustainable, hang out in it maybe for a breath or two. Don't bring the arms as deeply crossed maybe. You can always stay in Sphinx pose with the arms parallel. You can always work in Cobra. You can always sit up and do Garudasana arms again, eagle arms. Do not become complacent. The mind falls asleep and just goes back into its habits of what it's always thinking about. What's sort of fun is that maybe you've had this experience too, is that you can catch yourself at it, that you know at certain times of the day or certain situations, you always get triggered by the same thought, right? You start to go into the same thought pattern. You can catch yourself and be like, there I am, thinking about that again. There I am, thinking about that person, thinking about that vacation, thinking about lunch. And it's there that we want to stay really curious. Where it's especially when we find ourselves turning away from any situation. We can catch ourselves and say, can I stay curious? I can still turn away. Turning away is what I have to do, but can I stay curious about what I'm feeling? Can I stay curious about that feeling of trying to shut down or push away? We just keep dissolving the parts in our mind that want to stay in habit, that want to stay in limited interpretation. Take one more breath. Then slowly release, bringing your chest back up, unwinding the arms. Good. Back into Sphinx pose, please. So press the forearms down to the floor. Make sure that your hands are almost as wide as your mat. So take your elbows slightly wider and then let your wrist be in line with your elbows. Good. And push down. And as you push down, feel your low rib cage drawing in and up, and feel yourself pushing slightly wide from the inner edge of your armpits, the inner edge of your upper arms. Push wide. And then tuck your toes, please. Lift your hips up, come into forearm plank. Good. And continue to press down through the length of your forearms. So you should feel pressure in your hands and in your wrists, but push wide through your upper arms. Good. Nice, Lori. You got it, Virginia. Lift the back of your throat. Good. Nice, Mia. Take your butt down a little bit more. Good, you guys. One more breath. You got it, Maureen. Nice, Ralph. And then go ahead, release the knees to the floor, drop your forehead to the floor, let your elbows go wide, make a pillow with your hands. Breathe. Joking that it seems like the weather is pretending that it's winter again, but it's still spring. I've been thinking a lot about, the plants that are just starting to look like they're going to flower, but everything that is still happening underneath, because my daughter's very excited about everything, of course. So she says, the flowers are waking up. I'm like, well, they haven't even grown stems yet. Like they're just leaves. And she's like, no, the flowers are awake. So I'm trying to remind her or let her know, because this is new for her, right? That the biggest work that a plant does happens unseen, right? It happens under the ground. The biggest work that it does. And that this is us too, is that the biggest things that happen are what happen inside of you unseen by anybody else. Maybe even unknown by anybody else. So you are the only one that can allow that curiosity, that openness inside to go so deep that you literally crack yourself open, right? You dissolve all the places in you where you're sure that you know who you are, and you start to realize that you don't, that there's more to you. And by experiencing that, you then are able to carry that out into the world. So there's that sense of trust, curiosity and trust. And as I practice, the techniques that I use are for that, to build curiosity and trust. To know that your greatest work is not what happens on the outside, but it's what occurs inside unseen. Find your way onto your backs, please, before you're asleep. I know, right there, you're like, darn. I was gonna go to sleep. Bend your knees, please. Plant your feet. Good. And then bend your elbows into robot arms, so fingers point up towards the ceiling. Good. So you're setting up for bridge pose. So I want you to do what you usually do, which is probably wiggling your shoulders all the way under your back and squeezing your elbows as close to your ribs as you can. So do that. And then let your ribs draw down towards the floor. And now move your elbows a half an inch to an inch wider, up away from your ribs. That's it. Good. So now you can press down from the tips of your elbows all the way up to the top of your arm, probably more completely than usual. Feel as though your hands are squeezing together. But again, those upper arms are pushing wide, imaginary walls push wide. And then press down into your feet. Feel your sternum lifting up, so the front of your breastbone pulls up, and then lift your hips up as well. Come into bridge, but continue to try and rotate so that you are pressing down through the tips of your elbows, the very lowest tips of your elbows, and press wide. Good. And then feel the back of your throat get longer, press into your feet. Good. So there's none of that feeling of having to squeeze behind your heart, as you're actually just really engaging, pushing wide through the upper arms and feeling maybe the upper back contract behind the heart to lift. But I want you to focus on that spaciousness at the front of your arm bones. That as your sternum lifts up and you press wide, there's so much space where your arm bones meet your chest. Good. And then squeeze those hands just a little bit. That's it. Excellent. And then slowly release the hips down to the floor. You got it. Stretch your arms out wide, letter T, palms facing down to the floor. It's so fun that some of you in the room are close enough that you actually have to pay attention to where you place your arms because there's someone next to you. Press down. Yep. And as you press down into your hands, notice how your ribs pop up. So draw your lower ribs down and then take your legs up to 90 degrees. So knees in line with your hips, shins parallel to the floor. You got it. Keep those arms rooted down. Let your legs keep the legs together, but let them lean to the right, almost like you're going to do a spinal twist, but only go as far as you can without letting that left rib cage lift up off the floor. So push down through that left side ribs. Good. And then come back to center. Let your knees roll to the left just a little bit. Again, pressing down and wide through the right shoulder and hand and arm. And then come back to center. Let your knees go to the right again. Rooting down through the left arm. Come back to center. Let your legs drop just a little bit to the left, rooting down through the right. Good. Come back up to center. Nice. And then let your knees drop all the way to the right for a full twist. Let the knees drop. Good. Either continuing to stretch out through that left arm or let the arm come up over your ear. So again, you get that openness through the side waist, through the edge of the armpit, and the knees can really relax to the floor. So a full spinal twist. Good. Nice, you guys. And slowly come back to center, please. Knees to 90 degrees, stretch the arms out wide. Again, I want you to do it this way on purpose because it is working abdominal strength and lower back stuff, but it's also making you use your back in conjunction with your abdominals. So press down through those hands, draw your ribs in. The stability here is really important, that you can push down through the upper back and have a connection with your abdominals. So navel to spine. Good, navel to floor even. And then let your knees start to drop all the way over to the left. Again, controlled action, right? Good. And then as those knees find the floor, you can stretch that right arm up alongside your ear, or you can keep the arm extended. Nice. Good, you guys. And slowly bring yourself back to center, please. Hug the knees all the way in towards your chest. Come into happy baby. Draw your knees wide. Reach for the ankles or the edges of the feet. Letting the knees draw down towards the armpits. And then even here, as you push your feet into your hands just a little bit, let your elbows bend wide and draw the tops of the arms down towards the floor. So instead of letting your feet pull your arms up, draw down and widen your chest. Good. Really good, you guys. And then hug the knees all the way in towards your chest. Bring your forehead up to meet your knees. Squeeze. And then slowly release. I'm gonna make a joke about go into any inversion you want, but just kidding. Shavasana. Stretch the legs out in front of you, please. Let the arms come alongside you. Find your position of rest. I will not stop you, of course, if you want to do an inversion first, but Shavasana. Let yourself rest. Give yourself a lot of space between your arms and your upper body. Again, traditionally we say turn the palms to face up because again, that's a very open rotation on the shoulders. But if your shoulders feel like they get more relief by turning the palms down, turn your palms down. And if you have no idea, try. And feel yourself again falling into the breath, the rhythm of it. Using the metaphor of like the river flowing into the sea, let your mind drop into the bigness of your breath. Very gently allow the breath to get deeper. Letting the body begin to stretch and move whatever ways serve it well. As you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest. Roll to your right side. Take a moment before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. Remembering that the techniques of yoga are there to guide us to an experience that is not the habit that we have every day. And that by having those greater experiences, it allows the mind to wake up to the reality that there is more beyond its first interpretation of what things are. And that when we trust in that, then we're able to actually step beyond the boundaries, the limitations that we've created for ourselves, and that we then create for each other. And we say in yoga that when you free yourself from your own clinging, from your own suffering, is that it benefits everyone because it allows them to become free too. And that's what it means, is that when you are in that state of trust and that you're able to stay curious about what's inside of you and what's happening outside of you, then you will do things that your mind currently in this moment is not imagining and doesn't have to imagine. Is that you will do things far beyond the limits of what you think you can and who you think you are. Like that river being drawn to the sea, as you naturally, effortlessly become something more. And by doing that, we leave the space for others to do that too. They become free of their own limitations. So we practice dissolving in us the places that just want to be in that habit, that don't want to look any further. We stay curious about the reasons why we hide. So just practice noticing your habits and noticing anywhere that you can give yourself that experience of here I am holding and here I am letting go. And the breath is sometimes the easiest and most accessible way to remind your mind that it has the capacity to let go, to dissolve. So do it every day. Because the world is still happening, your mind has to stay awake. Close with the sound of Om, deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day, beautiful rest of your week. Till I see you again. It is going to get cold, so get out your coats and hats and everything again. Francesca, you did a great job today. I'll see you guys soon.